Good afternoon. I'm Captain Dave Burston, Chief Public Information Officer for the Indiana State Police. It is my distinct pleasure to welcome everyone here for a very exciting event of the donation of these automatic external defibrillators. My first and foremost important thing to do, and it's always a pleasure to do, is to introduce the Superintendent of the Indiana State Police, Doug Carter.
I think I'll start with a very sincere debt of gratitude to Pierre Tour. It's to my left. Pierre's here with his wife Susan. You were introduced just a minute ago to Troy Flugner, members of the Bolt board, a guy that I've looked at as a mentor and as a friend, John Goebel from IU Health. John right here. It's been just an absolute pleasure to not only get to know these guys, but to see what a few people can do when they believe in service over self. And it's been just the highest of honors. I talked to Captain Burston a few minutes ago, and we learned when all this began. And it was on Thanksgiving Day in 2015 where I was challenged to run that boat race in a full uniform. Not long after mandatory vest wear, so I was reminded I had to wear my vest during that run. I did, and I will never do it again and would not recommend it. But it was one of those memorable moments. So to Pierre, thank you. Thank you very, very much. As of today, 305 AEDs. 305 AEDs are now in the back seats and trunks of our police cars. And the goal with the Bolt board and Pierre is that eventually they get in every one. And I just cannot get beyond that, particularly in this difficult time when we all serve, that a group of people would come together, consummate professionals, to do something for us individually. And I know that each and every one of you understand the magnitude of that and what that means. Additionally, to be able to stand here to represent each and every one of you, I had to pinch myself. In year 6, I still get to do that. And when I pulled in here and I saw you came from all 4 corners of the state, near and far, I just cannot tell you how much I admire and respect each of you. We started the virtual opportunity to participate in the race from afar, understanding that many of you don't necessarily want to drive to the north side of Indianapolis in Carmel on Thanksgiving morning for an early morning race. So we, through technology, have the ability for you to participate in your home districts and home posts with your family members, church members, community members, schools, and the like. And I would ask that you continue to think about how that might happen. Each year we go up and up and up to include the folks that are watching today. It doesn't just have to be state policemen around Indiana. Many of the virtual races included sheriff's deputies, city policemen, community members, and those that just want to do something good for somebody else. So I would encourage you to please continue to think that way, and let's see what 2018 brings us. Next week we get to go down to Deaconess in Evansville, Indiana, where we'll be issued an additional 13 AEDs for deployment and assignment to troopers in the southern part of Indiana, which will take our grand total up to around 316, and it's just a stunning number. Governor Pence several years ago had presented Pierre with the Sagamore the Wabash, and Governor Holcomb decided that in lieu of that he would identify a proclamation. And if you'll bear with me for just a moment, I'd like to read it to you. The State of Indiana Executive Department, Indianapolis, Executive Order Proclamation, to whom all these presents may come, greetings. Each year, sudden cardiac arrest kills 335,000 people of all ages and fitness levels without warning. And 95% of those who suffer from sudden cardiac arrest die because CPR and defibrillation usually occur too late, if at all. And if the first person on the scene knew CPR and applied an automatic external defibrillator within 5 minutes, the American Heart Association estimates that at least 40,000 more lives per year could be saved. 40,000 moms and dads and friends and neighbors and the like. Bolt for the Heart has donated more than 300 AEDs for Indiana State Police vehicles and also provided to local schools, churches, and community organizations by purchasing and placing AEDs at their facilities free of charge and training their staffs on successful usage. And Bolt for the Heart ensures more Hoosiers have the latest medical equipment so that more precious lives can be saved. Now, therefore, I, Eric J. Holcomb, Governor of the State of Indiana, do hereby proclaim February 13th, 2018 as Bolt for the Heart Day in the state of Indiana and invite all citizens to duly note this occasion. Pierre, to you. In closing, at the start of my comments, I referenced John Goebel, and I still remember very early on in my early relationship with John, and understood the value of what he did and what he has brought to IU. They surprised us a couple years ago with 50 AEDs, and looking at the culture that he's created within his organization is just absolutely extraordinary. Absolutely extraordinary. Again, I say that because of the partnership, because again, the service before self, and it's just the epitome of what all that means with these two guys and everything that they represent. Guys and gals, thank you for being here. Thanks for making the trek, and it's the highest honor of my lifetime to be able to stand here with you and represent you each and every day. Thank you all very much.
Next, I invite to the podium Pierre Tour, the founder of Bolt for the Heart, to tell a little bit more about the organization. Pierre?
You are full of surprises. What a great distinctive honor. Clearly, it's not why we're doing what we're doing, clearly. It's just an honor and privilege to be here today. This is truly one of the days I look forward to in the course of a year, and I was telling Superintendent Carter, so you guys need to buy more police cars so we can continue doing this. We're 550 is the goal, and it's truly a culmination of a lot of people. I'm very humbled by that award, but truly it's by a lot of people that are involved with the organization. It's been really neat to see this organization grow through our volunteers, our board of directors, our sponsors. It's something I really look forward to, and you know, the race is on Thanksgiving morning. That's kind of like almost the afterthought, but it's actually the fuel that gives us the money to do what we're doing. The other thing that's really cool about the culmination of today is that we go through the course of a year and we meet a lot of people that have their experiences with sudden cardiac arrest, and some of them are not good. But when they are good, they are spectacular. They are great, great stories, and all of you are on the front line of that. And if we can help you by placing AEDs in your cars to make your jobs easier and to continue expanding what you do, it's an honor for us to do. And you're going to hear a story later today about a textbook save, just absolute textbook. Superintendent Carter, thank you very much for the very kind intro and your leadership. It's been a pleasure to work with you. It's a pleasure to get to know you. I find you a man of tremendous character, and I truly appreciate our friendship. I really do. And it turns out that Superintendent Carter and I grew up about 15 minutes from each other in LaPorte County. But anyway, it's an honor to call you friend, and thank you for all that you do. I'd also like to throw out a tremendous debt of gratitude to Captain Dave Burston. He's become a very good friend as well, and he's a very detail-minded individual. It keeps me in line with all the things that go on, and again, it's become a great, great friendship, and I appreciate you and all that you do.
Thank you, Peter.
Yeah. A couple of people beyond all of you here, Rich Myers, he does the road show, and that's been a real pleasure to do. I don't like to be in the limelight very often, and he makes that a very comfortable experience, more of a conversation. So, Rich, thank you for making that an easy process for us. And Tom, who does the camera work, you do a great job, and it's always a pleasure to see you. So, again, I want to acknowledge the Indiana State Troopers for what you do for us each and every day on I-69 going to Evansville in the median, or going to Kokomo in the median, or even up to Fort Wayne when I'm driving there. I see you. and you keep me honest, and I really appreciate all that you do for all of us in the state of Indiana to keep us safe. This does not happen. There are many hands that make light work for me, and I'd like to just throw out a debt of gratitude to the Bolt for the Heart Board of Directors, Tim Thoman, Mike Heim, Joe Muldoon, Kevin Clancy, Greg Elsner, and Greg Didinsky. These are 7 really good friends of mine that we just decided to get together and do something, and that's where this was born out of in 2010. I'd also like to acknowledge a special guest here today, and that's Mark Peters. Mark Peters is a regional director for cardiac science. He works with Troy Phelps, who's my brother at Cardiac Science. Very supportive of the efforts that we're doing here at Bolt for the Heart, and welcome you, Mark. Thanks for being here. My brother in crime, that's Troy Flugner. Troy, you saw earlier, he is the AED specialist. We couldn't do this without Troy's commitment and his passion for the business. He has so many great relationships. He has sold tens of thousands of AEDs in a 4-state area. I don't think there's a person in law enforcement that doesn't know who Troy Flugner is. And if you don't know him, please shake his hand today, because he'll know somebody that you know, clearly. But Troy, thank you for all that you do. If there's any such thing as an exclusive relationship, it's with you, because you've done a great job for cardiac science, and I'm proud to call you my friend. I'd also like to thank many of our sponsors. The list seems to grow every year, and we're very flattered by that. People want to be a part of this event that we have built with the virtual run, but also with the 3,000 people that participate in Carmel. But I would like to be very specific on a couple that have been very helpful to us. That's namely Market District, the current newspapers, very much supportive of what we're doing. Ogle Designs, they've been true friends of Bolt for the Heart, and some other good friends of ours we developed this year is the Orange Theory Fitness Group. Carolyn and Sean McDonald have done a great job at supporting what we're doing. So if you ever see anybody at one of our races wearing an orange tutu, that's one of Carolyn's people. So thank you for your support there. We've also been able to partner with a lot of visionary groups throughout the state. HeartReach Carmel's, or Bolt for the Heart, started as a result of HeartReach Michiana up in the Elkhart area. There was a surgeon friend of mine who started with a golf outing. He would raise a lot of money, and then he'd turn around and buy AEDs and distribute them in the northwest part of the state. He retired from doing that, but I sat with him and said, why can't I do that in Indianapolis? He said, well, you can. So that started Bolt for the Heart, and that has led into other organizations throughout the state. The Dylan Williams Foundation in Union City, Play for Jake up in LaPorte. I know you know some of the folks there. Brian's Heart just recently. And some friends that really have become more than just friends. The folks on the Heart Savers down in Evansville. Deaconess Hospital has embraced what we're doing here, and Heart Savers was born a couple years ago. And we have Penny Goshard here, Kirsten Wagmeister, and Mark Moore from the Deaconess Foundation. So thank you for being here and doing all that you're doing in southwest Indiana. And as Superintendent Carter said, there is going to be a donation day next week, and they've already raised enough money to purchase those AEDs for our state troopers, and they are at 188. So I guess the gauntlet's been thrown, right? You guys are going to pass us? You're going to try? Okay, that's good. I like that. That's a fun game. So, I'll talk more about IU Health here in a second. And I also would like to finally thank my wife, Susan. She was behind me from day one when we did this idea and this concept, and she's been my right-hand person right next to me the whole time. And she's my buddy. She's great. So Bolt for the Heart was born out of my love and our love for running, and we tried to marry Bolt for the Heart with a outreach type program and giving back to the community. And briefly, it just started in 2010. I had the great pleasure of fulfilling a lifelong goal, and I ran the Boston Marathon. It was the first time and the last time I will ever do that. It's kind of like your run in uniform. But ironically, during that run, Troy Flugner and I had met prior to that. And after the run, and after the misery and the pain went away, we went to the hotel, and my phone had blown up with a lot of text messages. And Troy was texting me saying that there was a father at mile 21 that was running in the event that had a sudden cardiac arrest. Well, to his benefit, there was an AED in the medic cart. They shocked him back to life, and this father of 2 young boys is alive today. So that moment the board of directors decided that's going to be our purpose. We're going to do a family fun activity event, and that's going to be our purpose. Our mission is to place AEDs into schools and other not-for-profit organizations. So we've done a lot of schools, done a lot of churches, a lot of baseball and football fields, that type of thing. And it's really amazing as you start scratching the surface, you realize how little or how undercovered we are in the state in particular areas. We're getting better, but we're not there yet. So that's our goal. Excuse me, that's our mission. Our goal became very apparent when one of our board members, Dr. Greg Elsner, was doing an exam on one of your colleagues. It's just an annual exam. And afterwards, Dr. Elsner said, "Do you mind if I ask you a question?" He says, "No, you're more than welcome to." And he said, "Do you have an AED in your patrol car?" He goes, "No, I don't, but I'd love to have one because I could certainly use it." Well, that evening we had a board meeting. And Greg brought that to the attention of all of us. And we just said right there and then, let's find out how many of the AEDs you need in the state trooper patrol team. And we made a phone call, and it went through the ranks and got to meet Captain Burston, and that number was determined to be 550. So that's become our goal for the last 4 years. And where we are today, we're at 317, which I recounted. I gave Captain Burston wrong information. That's my fault. We're off by 2. So we're at 317. We'll be 402 with the 85 that you previously had. So the goal is 148 to finish the job. And my challenge to the board this year is going to be, let's finish the job. Let's get the race, and many participants to come to the race virtually and also at Carmel, and then just our corporate donations make up the difference. So that's our goal for this year. So again, it's my distinct privilege on behalf of the board of directors to be here today. This is a pleasure to do, and all of us are very, very honored to be a part of it. Transitioning to how we can do what we're doing, and we couldn't do it without them. IU Health has been part of what we've done since day one, whether it's in offering space for us to do donations, if it's space for us to have meetings, if it's space for us to have packet pickup for our races, when people come get their medals and their registration, that type of thing. IU has been bent over backwards for us. I've worked with Sherry Akisto there, and Joy Davis and Terry Hobbs. They've been absolutely second to none. At the direction of their leader, John Goebel. John, I find you a man of great character, and I personally greatly admire, and you share the passion we have for placing AEDs. That's very clear. And it was no more apparent to me what your character was last week when you and I sat down. We were in the lobby of IU Health North, just having a cup of coffee. And we kept getting interrupted by people coming up, patients, nurses, doctors, even a plumber came up, shake your hand and pat your back. And I thought, that's a man of character. That's a man of leadership, and that's very impressive. So this respect is very well deserved. So it is my great pleasure to introduce you my friend and president of IU Health North, John Goebel.
Thank you very much, Pierre. That was way too kind. This is a fantastic project, and I'm absolutely honored to be here to represent Indiana University Health. I remember when I got drug into this project, I didn't have to drag very, very hard, because I remember a phone call from a cardiovascular surgeon, Art Coffey, who said, "Hey, I want you to meet this guy. He's doing this kind of fundraiser thing, and that usually means somebody wants to put their hands in my pocket." But it was a lot more than that, and I don't think you ever really did that, Pierre. Pierre had a purpose, a vision, and something that really truly inspired me. And when the objective was laid out, that our goal was to put an AED in every patrol car, I was first shocked to learn that there wasn't one. And then second, I was inspired to actually help to make that happen. So from that point on, that became the focus of a lot of efforts. And I got to know Superintendent Carter, and it was a very easy project so far. And I think it will be easy this year to finish this project. Indiana University Health is the largest health system in the state of Indiana. And one of our objectives is to actually truly change the health of Hoosiers. And you can do that in a lot of different ways, but one of the ways is to equip the people that are on the front lines with the appropriate tools. So one of my objectives of these comments today is to thank you for the work that you do. The AEDs that you will have today in your patrol cars aren't just to save lives, but they should be a symbol of our respect for the work you do. You guys and gals are fantastic. We have great respect for your work on the front line. You put your lives on the front line every single day, and you have in your hands lives of Hoosiers every single day, and you need to have the appropriate tools to appropriately care and carry out those duties. So thank you for what you do every single day. In Indiana University Health, we start every board meeting with some sort of story that reminds us of what we do and why we do it. I've been in healthcare now. I've been a president and chief executive for 34 years this May. And I've spent a lot of time doing strategy and construction and recruitment and all that kind of stuff, strategic plans and budgets. And I have to constantly remind myself by walking the hallways why I do that. It's not hard to do. If you walk into a pediatric cancer patient's room, it's not hard to remind yourself why we work at this. So the real question is, why do we put AEDs in the hands of police officers? Well, I'd like to introduce to you somebody who can actually tell you a story about why this effort is so important. It is my pleasure to introduce to you the Carmel Police Chief, Jim Barlow. Now, I met Jim a little bit ago, and Jim has been, I believe, 34 years with the Carmel Police Force, a native of Michigan City, another LaPorte person. It's ironic that all four people here in the first row have some roots. I was the president and CEO of the LaPorte Health System for about 7 years before I came to Carmel. So maybe there's something in the water that brought us together. But it's my pleasure to introduce Jim Barlow, who will tell us a story about why this project is so important. Thank you.
Guess everyone knows how really old I am now. Thank you. But I want to thank Superintendent Carter and the State Police for inviting us to this event. You know, in the course of my 34 years in law enforcement, basic mission of law enforcement really hasn't changed that much. Whether you're a trooper or city policeman or a deputy sheriff, it's really to provide an effective, efficient service to our communities. And but one big thing I think has changed is the technology that's become available to us in the last 10 or so years. Technologies like the AED. And I think when, about 8 years ago, we were lucky, the city of Carmel was lucky to team up with Troy and our Clay Township trustee, Doug Callahan, to help fund this, and we are able to put AED in every one of our police cars. In a few minutes, you're going to hear these gentlemen's story, and when you hear their story, you're going to understand why this technology, AEDs, is so important to the Carmel Police Department, because it really lets us provide an effective, efficient service to our community. It also shows that we need to continue to give the frontline workers like these gentlemen and these ladies the tools and the technology to better serve our communities. So I'd like to introduce first Bill Schleiss, Jeff Utzinger, and Master Patrol Officer Tony Lovett. And before I give up the mic and let these guys tell the story, I want to, anytime I get a chance to brag on one of my coworkers, I take a chance. And Master Patrol Officer Tony Lovett, it does not surprise me when you hear the story. He's in his career, he's a veteran officer. He's always had a knack for being in the right place, the right time, whether it's helping someone or catching a bad guy. So this doesn't surprise me. And Tony, I'm really proud of you. This mic's yours, guys.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Bill Schleiss, and it's an honor to be here today. And I want to first start off by thanking everybody who had a hand in putting this special event together. I also want to say thank you to Pierre for the invitation for us to come tell our story today. It's an exciting story, and it couldn't have turned out any better. I think it also helps cement the reason why we have events like today and the importance of AEDs in the field. Our story starts back the morning of June 20th while I was on my way to work, winding through the neighborhood. Pulling up to a stop sign, I noticed a would-be jogger laying on the parkway in the grass. He was flat on his back, and I kind of saw him move his arm a little bit, but as I looked over, it just didn't seem right. So I pulled the car over, got out of my vehicle, and at that time there was an older gentleman standing there, and I said, "Are things okay?" And he said, "I think you better call 911. I immediately called 911 and got the 911 operator here who was with us today. I just met a little bit ago. I gave her our location, and then I knelt down to assess the situation. Jeff was unresponsive and unconscious. I checked for a pulse in his neck and his wrists. I looked and listened for breath movements and chest movements, and there was nothing. It was obvious that his heart had stopped beating, and he was not breathing. The 911 operator quickly instructed me that CPR needed to be started and asked me if I knew how. I said the last CPR training I had was 35 years ago. It was in high school health class, and it was on a mannequin named Annie. She quickly told me where to place my hands, and she said, "I need you to start 600 compressions." And I remember saying back to her, 600? And she said, "Yes, 600, and I want you to count out loud so I can count with you." I then placed my phone on speaker and laid it down in the grass. Being a believer in the Lord, I said a quick prayer and asked him to put his healing hands on Jeff. And I started compressions. 1, 2, 3, 4. Shortly thereafter, I could hear the sirens, and I knew help was on the way. And boy, what a sound. Moments later, Officer Lovett pulled up to the scene, got out of his car, rushed over to where Jeff and I were, AED in hand, and began to go to work. Like clockwork, he had Jeff hooked up to the machine and hit the button to start it. It then alerted us quickly that it was going to shock, and boom! It gave Jeff one heck of a shock, lifting his body off of the ground. It then instructed to continue compressions, and Officer Lovett complied. At that moment, the paramedics were arriving on scene, and as they came over to Jeff, they found that he had a slight pulse and readied him for transport. They loaded him in the emergency vehicle, and away they went. And I remember standing there watching them pull away, and I was trying to process what had just happened. What had just happened was through the heroic effort of Officer Lovett, the training and tools that he had in the field, we had just helped save a man's life. What had just happened was Jeff, his 3 kids are with us here today, still had their dad. His wife, Christine, still had her husband. Raj and Mo, his mom and dad, still had their son. And his brother, Eric, still had his brother. Not to mention the countless extended family and friends that this event had impacted. I remember a day later, I was talking to Christine on the phone, and she was sharing with me that a doctor had said, "Boy, what a lucky guy. When someone has a sudden cardiac arrest outside of the hospital, they have only a 3 to 5% chance of living." But again, due to the quick response time of Officer Lovett, the training and equipment the AED had on site in hand, we beat those odds. And I think when I look at today's event and actually look at how special it is, I think, wow, we have the opportunity to put 90 more AEDs in the hands of officers, in the hands of first responders, that hopefully, as you move forward, we can continue to beat those odds, and maybe even one day we can change those odds. I'm going to let Jeff speak. I know he has a few words he'd like to say, but in closing, I'd just like to thank all of you guys for your continued commitment to support others and your willingness to do so. God bless you all.
Now you know why I wanted to go first. Follow that. So I'm Jeff. As the story goes, as Bill tells it, and what I've been told is that I did go out for that run the morning of June 20th of last year. Have no memory of it. no memory of much in the hospital that week after. But I woke up asking a lot of questions. Where am I? Why am I here? What day is it? Why is my brother wearing my clothes? I didn't know. He's in Charlotte. He was on a one-day business trip from Chicago, headed straight down, and I didn't know why he kept showing up in my clothes. But as things sunk in several days after the event, the question of why kept coming up and nagging at me. Why? How? Why? I take fairly good care of myself to prevent this kind of thing. Didn't know if I'd ever get those answers or not, but that nagging question of why. And a couple things started resonating with me. One is I think God put me through this for a couple reasons. Slow me down, literally slow me down on the roads, hopefully one less speeder if you guys have to worry about. But two, really slow me down in life and appreciate life and everything that, and just be thankful for everything that I have with my beautiful family and friends. And that is so precious, and it can be taken away just like that. You know, I'd like to think there was maybe an easier way for me to get that message, but apparently this was the message for me, and it was received loud and clear. Make no mistake. And really the second thing that rang true right away was the only reason I'm here, the only reason that I'm still a father and a husband, is because of Bill Schleiss. For one, a random stranger that now is a fairly good friend. In the neighborhood, driving to work, going a different way that day for who knows what reason, stopping and giving me life-saving CPR. Truly remarkable. Officer Lovett, the first responder. Officer Lovett was there in 4 minutes from that call, thanks in large part to the dispatchers that I just had a chance to meet today. And I'm so thankful they were able to take part in this and be here. You know, one took the call and kept Bill calm and talked him through everything. The other, Jill, dispatched the closest responder, policeman in the area, and it was Officer Lovett. Without these two behind me, I'm not here. Plain and simple. It's a fact. Bill will tell you, anyone would stop. Anyone would do it. Maybe. Can't argue that. Officer Lovett will say, it's my job. As you all, I'm sure, would respond the same way whenever you guys save a life. It's your job. But I'll tell you, he was able to do his job because of an AED in his car. That is a fact. That is a fact. So that question of why did this happen? You know, quite frankly, I'm drawn to it. I'm drawn to Pierre and Bolt for the Heart to do what I can. I'll never be able to repay this debt, ever. But I can try to be a little part of something, even a tiny part of something, as special as Bolt for the Heart in events like this, to help you all get these AEDs in your car. There's no way I shouldn't be in the minority. There should be other lucky men and women out there. And I think we increase people's luck with events like this. I'm absolutely humbled and honored to be standing here. I thank you for your service each and every day, for everything you do for the community in Indiana. Thanks and God bless.
No, come on up.
I really didn't prepare a whole lot for this, but it is doing my job that I've thought about Jeff quite a bit because, one, we've taken pictures together after he got out of the hospital. So there is a lot of connection. Once you've taken your job to that next step to saving a life, it makes you very humble. I'm very proud that I'm with an agency that has these, that is to provide that type of service to our community. Thank you.
What each of these gentlemen don't know is that there's something special to be presented to them now, and I want to invite Superintendent Carter, Pierre Tour, Chief, Mr. Goebel, please to step forward. you explain.
Moments like this should be celebrated, and that's what we believe at, Bolt for the Heart. And as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, is that you go through the course of the year, you hear these stories, and this was absolutely textbook. So this should be celebrated. So Troy, I'll allow you to come up here, and we have a recognition of special efforts here. Basically, it says Bolt Lifesaver Award presented to Bill Schleiss, Good Samaritan, for your heroic actions that saved a life on June 20th, 2017. And it's signed by Jeff, it's signed by Troy, myself, and Jim Barlow. Same thing. Bolt Lifesaver Award presented to Officer Tony Lovett, Carmel Police Department, for your heroic actions that saved a life on June 20th, 2017. Okay. I didn't see that. That's cool. This is another plaque presented to Jeff Utzinger, sudden cardiac arrest survivor. Your life was saved on June 20th, 2017. And I will show you, this is what's printed out from these AEDs. This is the EKG of when the pads were administered on his chest to when his heart came back into rhythm. Well done, Troy. Well done. Yeah.
I'd like to, I'll join you up here. I'm going to join my friend Pierre. I'm Troy Flugner. I'm going to present this one as well. It means a lot to me and to Pierre because the Carmel Police Department did something extraordinary 8 years ago. I think 8 years ago. They placed an AED, and thanks to Doug Callahan, the Clay Township trustee, they put one, invested one every car. That was in January of 2011. And Pierre and I were, before Bolt for the Heart started, that's part of Pierre's start. He mentioned that he took a very, he and a few friends, that took a very large part of that. And they've been running around the city of Carmel, and they created other opportunities for other law enforcement to carry AEDs. And that AED that was used that day was the first save in 7 years that they were able to accomplish. And that's what we worked so hard for. So I'm presenting also one to to Chief Barlow, who I consider a great friend because at the time it was Major Barlow, and he helped this project get underway. He helped put one in Tony's hands and others. So he takes a big part of this, and so does the city. So I'd like to have Pierre present that. That will be signed by Jeff, myself, and Pierre as well. Finally, as the AED guy, as I'm commonly referred to as, and I'm completely okay with that. I've got friends in all kinds of places, as Pierre mentioned before. So the folks at Carmel Police, the folks at the 911 Center, you should see their operation. It's incredible. It's incredible. They've got Greg and Brian and Todd. They maintain 130 AEDs in the city of Carmel for the PD. So I'm going to throw them under the bus. They helped me achieve something. This is the AED that saved Jeff's life. I pulled it out of service. We're retiring it like a jersey, number 23. And I don't want to present that to Jeff. I'd like Tony and I'd like Bill to present it to Jeff. But on the back of this AED, it is signed by everybody here today, including Superintendent Carter, John Goebel, Todd, Greg, the two that maintain these batteries and pads, and Brian, Captain Burston, myself, Pierre, my boss and great friend Mark Peters back there. And it says that June 20th, 2017, shock was delivered at 10:52 and 55 seconds. At 10:53 and 43 seconds, as Jeff will see, his according to the ECG. He returned to spontaneous circulation. His heart rhythm returned to normal. He got a pulse. That was 48 seconds after a shock. But that wouldn't have been able to happen if Bill hadn't started CPR and the chain of survival hadn't been put in play. Early 911, early recognition, early CPR, early AED, early hospital care. So I'm going to present this to Bill and to Tony, and I'm going to allow them to give this to Jeff, but they're also going to sign it. Of course, I wouldn't take an AED out of service without putting another one back in. So, Chief Barlow, here you are, sir. So we've removed that AED and we've replaced that. Everything is there. So thank you, everyone here. This is a true honor for me to be a part of. It's extremely emotional. I'm not going to stay up here because I'll never shut up. But thank you for your service. Thank you for everything you all do every day. I truly appreciate it, and I hope you hear it 100 more times before you get home today. Be safe. Thank you.
Shortly, what we're about to do is you'll all receive your AEDs. They're by districts, starting from Lowell, working on the way over. Your names are on them. Don't rush the table all at once. You can't help but be moved by what we've heard here today. And each person here has the opportunity to save a life in the future.